Guys, welcome to another session for Biology 2024. So this was a multiple choice paper. Okay, so from this paper, it was written by the external candidates. Okay, so always please take note that Biology paper 1 is 50 minutes. Okay, so you are not allowed to spend more than 1 minute on one question. Okay, so let's get inside. We look into what the question was about. So the first question, the first part, it's always about characteristics of living organisms, but in here they had to put the microscope. Okay, so I'll give you the guiding frame for the biology paper 1. I'll try to make a video over it. So let's look at the question. So the question states, the diagram shows a light microscope. Okay, so we have to know the parts of the microscope and then their function. Okay, as we are approaching this question. So this question sometimes it comes on 2 or sometimes it comes on 1. Okay, so we have some parts. Let me name the parts for you. Okay, so we have this one, we have the barrel, and then we have the revolving nose. If we can see, this is a revolving nose. Its function is to hold the objective lens and then also change their position. Okay, then we have the stage, and then we have the mirror, and then on the middle there is what we call a diaphragm. Okay, so these are some of the parts of the microscope. Now, they went on to ask a question: which labeled part supports the objective lenses? So the objective lenses are supported by the revolving nose. We call this part as a revolving nose. So it supports and then also enable the user to change the position. Okay, so if you want maybe times x 100, you can use the times x 100 by changing the actual position of the lens. So the revolving nose usually rotates. Okay, so we can give an answer there. We can give an answer of B. B is one of the answers, the revolving nose. Okay, and then also we have the question 2. Which of the following describe the similarities between a plant cell and an animal cell? Okay, both have. So let me give you an overview before we look at the answers. Okay, so this is an overview of a plant cell and an animal cell. So we have the plant cell here. Then this is an animal cell. Okay, so the similarities are they all have the nucleus. See, they all have the nucleus in them. Okay, then having the nucleus in them, they also all have cytoplasm. If you see here, there is cytoplasm. Okay, then also they have the Golgi apparatus. So these are detailed structures. We have the Golgi apparatus is present, the plasma membrane is present, and then also the endoplasmic reticulum is present. They all have the mitochondria. Okay, except the vacuole. The vacuole here is not found. If you can see, there is no vacuole here. And then also cell wall here is present, but here there is no cell wall. What is present is just the cell membrane. If you can see, we have the plasma membrane. Chloroplast is here in green, but chloroplast is not here present. Okay. Then also we have vacuole is present. The vacuole is not present, except some plastids. Okay. So these are some of the similarities. Then the differences are these ones which are in green. I hope you're able to see the diagram. So let's come to the question. Okay. So now on the question there, we are told which of the following describe the similarities between the plant cell and animal cell. So both the first option answer was the cell membrane and cell wall. No, cell membrane and the nucleus, of course. If we see from here, okay, cell membrane, cell membrane, and the nucleus. Of course, these two they are variable. Okay, so our answer there is B. Okay, let's look at question 3. Okay, which of the following statements correctly define active transport? Okay, the movement of, now here you just pardon me on this question, the particular paper which I captured wasn't much clear enough. Okay, so I'll read it out just, and then from there you'll see forth. Okay, so when you are describing active transport, okay, active transport molecules across the membrane. If we look at from this part, movement of molecules across a membrane against the concentration gradient using energy from ATP. So here was from ATP. Okay, let me write something here. Okay, from ATP. From A from ATP like that. Okay, okay, even though the handwriting is not good, but I want to show up on that part, okay? From ATP. So ATP is adenosine triphosphate, okay? So adenosine triphosphate is the chemical storage for energy, okay? It is found in the mitochondria. So we have to take note of active transport. Active transport involves the usage of energy. So where do the energy come from? Let me take you back a little bit. Here, we have this part here, if you can see it, the mitochondria, this one. Okay, so this part here is the one that contains ATP. That's where respiration takes place. Respiration takes place in the mitochondria. So when the respiration is taking place there is a production of ATP. So that ATP is the one that supports the active transport. Okay, and then molecules they move against the concentration gradient. Okay, so dear viewers, okay, we now set up an answer. So our answer there, we put up B. B is our answer, okay? And then we have question 4. The diagram illustrates the model of an enzyme action. Okay, so here I will generate a video for you, okay? Because this question is also present in biology paper 2. Okay, section A, question 2. Okay, there they give out a question on enzyme activity, especially for the candidates who are writing this November exam. You are likely to expect enzyme activity. So you have to know the graphs of enzyme activity and so many questions that can be related to. Alright, so let's try to see here. Now, here we are given the actual demonstration, okay? So here the enzyme action, okay? So here we have a substrate and then here we have the active site. So the active site is where the enzyme and the substrate basically they fit, okay, and then also they usually interact. So we have the enzyme there, and then we have enzyme substrate complex. So the enzyme is fitting now into the substrate is fitting into an enzyme. So this is a substrate, this is an enzyme which is down there, okay, and then the products are given out from there. Okay, now if we see the type of fitting here, it is just specific. Okay, if we had to bring something like this, let me give you a picture. If I bring something of this type, okay, as an enzyme, and then I bring something of this type, and then I try to fit this on this point, it will not. Why? It's because they are different, okay? So here, the demonstration which was given here, okay? If they ask a question like what model of enzyme action is being demonstrated in the diagram, okay? So enzymes are, here if we can see, they are specific, okay? Enzymes are specific, okay? So our answer there we can state they have a specific substrate which they usually catalyze. So the answer there is D, substrate specific. Okay, so this is about their form, the enzyme being specific to act on a specified substrate. So we can move on to the other question. Okay, so the other question, even though the diagram is not much clear, but I'll try to explain and to you on question 5. The table shows the types of food and their protein content per gram. Okay, so here we have protein content. Okay, so the protein is what was being investigated there. Okay, now we have food and then the protein content. Okay, so we have the apple fruit. Okay, and then it contains 0.2, and then we have beef, okay, which contains 19.0, and then carrots 0.7, cheese 26.0, milk 3.3. Okay, now the examiner went on to ask which type of food would give the highest positive results with burette test. I hope you are able to remember, dear pupils and dear viewers, the usage of burette reagent. We have to know the usage of burette reagent. Burette is used for testing for proteins. Okay, now burette should give a purple or violet color. Okay, when proteins they are in a high percentage. Okay, so we should have that violet color. So if we not, then to remain in its color, which is the actual blue state. Okay, so now if we see here, for butyrate to show up, the food should have high percentage of proteins, because proteins are the ones that give out results when you put butyrate or you add some butyrate droplets onto them. So the food content, if we check on the nutritional value, the food content that has the highest values of proteins, we have this one 19. 19 we can see is a big value there. 19. And then also we have this one, cheese. Cheese is containing 26. So this one also, it is one of it. Let me try to write properly. Let me try to write properly. Okay. So we have also cheese. Okay. Cheese is one of it, like that. So these two, they are of high nutrition content. So they will be able to give a purple or violet color. Okay. So our answer should have a combination of beef, which is at 19.0, and then also cheese, which is having 26.0. So our answer is B. Okay, and then we move on to this other question. Question 6. Which of the following disease is as a result of iodine deficiency in the diet? Now, iodine deficiency, if you look at iodine, iodine basically when it is not present in the food sample or in the food, in the diet, the person suffers from goiter. Okay, so goiter is a mass. Okay, it's a mass that comes out of the neck as a result of lack of iodine. So if in the diet there is lack of iodine, then a person will have goiter. Okay, so this mass basically is out of lack of iodine. So our answer there, which we can give, is B. Okay, and then we roll on, dear viewers, to this other question of 7. The table shows the recommended amount of 4 nutrients for different people. So we have nutritional value. The table is under nutrition, dietary needs. If we can remember in grade 10, we have dietary needs, okay? But before we look at this question, I'll give a brief of the sample, the uses of each and every nutrient. So there was a person, proteins, vitamins, iron, and calcium, okay? Let me give you a particular tip or the review of grade 10 topic of nutritional diet table. So I made up this table. So we have different types of nutrients which were presented there. And then their usage. We have proteins, and then we have vitamins. We have iron, and then calcium. So the usage of proteins, are used for growth of the maternal tissues. So when they say maternal tissues, the baby or the fetus tissues which are inside the womb. So that baby's tissues, they require proteins for substantial growth. Okay. So the proteins are used for growth of maternal tissues, require substantial amount of protein. So proteins are useful for tissue formation, in short. Okay. Then we have vitamins, vitamin D. Vitamin D is essential for bone formation. If we can remember, vitamin D and the calcium phosphate, those are used for bone formation, okay? Yes, and then folic acid help in preventing birth defects, okay? So here we have birth defects, so sorry for this. It was to be birth defects, okay? Birth defects, so let me not take time to write, okay? So we have birth defects, because at the birth there can be complications. So folic acid usually help in that, okay? And then we have iron. Iron basically, if you look at it, iron is useful when it comes to formation of hemoglobin, because the fetus also needs some cells and then also transportation of oxygen. So iron is used for formation of hemoglobin that traps oxygen and transport it. Okay, and then also it can transport carbon dioxide. So we have iron is useful for hemoglobin. Okay, and then also we have calcium. Calcium is useful for bone formation, support bone formation and nervous system. And the circulatory system is supported all by calcium. So looking at this overview, now our question is on what are the recommendations for certain type of people. So let's look at those type of people. So we are here. Which person represents a pregnant woman? So a pregnant woman is needed for these purposes. One, growth of the baby, and then for preventing birth defects, iron for hemoglobin, and then also this one for support of bones and the circulatory system. the fetus that is developing. So here we can say a pregnant woman, because a pregnant woman needs a lot of these nutrients. So we have the nutritional values. So we can see here. So these numbers are indicating the percentage. Okay, so we have A 30, 27, and then 600. Okay, which is less. Okay, and then 30, 43, 20, 10, and then 600. This is less. We have 53, and then 25, and then 13, and then 700. So we want a high nutritional value foods. So the high nutritional value foods that is containing 60 of proteins. Okay, this is now for the pregnant woman, and then also 60, and then here the highest value is 14, and then 1200. So this food nutrient is essential. So answer there is D. All right, so let's try to go to question 8. Which of the following shows the effect of a plant growing in the soil that lacks calcium? Okay, now we have to know calcium, the importance of calcium. So calcium basically, if we are not added to a plant, they can be stunted growth. Okay, stunted growth, and then dwarfness. A plant can be a dwarf. Okay, and then stunted growth also will come out to be. Okay, so if we add it with other nutrients, it forms energy. But commonly, a plant stops growing because of lack of energy, because calcium phosphate is needed for energy and so forth. Okay, so here we have stunted growth. Stunted growth is associated with the lack of calcium. So our answer there, which we can give, is C, stunted growth. Okay. Then this question on the diagram, okay, we have the diagram on the dicotyledonous leaf. I hope you're able to remember the leaf structure. So let me give an overview of the leaf structure, and then their parts and the functions. So let's come to this side, okay. We have the top layer. The top layer, we call it the cuticle. Okay, that's the cuticle on top there, this one. Okay, and then here we have the upper epidermis. These green strips, okay, see upper epidermis. Then we have the palisade layer or palisade parenchyma, okay, if you might like. Then we have the xylem. On top there, there's a xylem. So these are xylem vessels, if we see them, okay, corresponding to what we are given. And then down there we have the phloem. Look at this, the phloem. Down there we have the phloem, okay. And then on this side here we have the stoma, then the epidermal hair, and then also we have the lower epidermis. So now if we relate to our diagram here, what is this part on top there? So the part on top there is the waxy cuticle. So that is the cuticle, okay? And then we have two there is corresponding to the xylem, okay? And then 3 at the bottom is corresponding to the phloem. Okay, so our answer of correspondency of the cuticle being on top, like this one, and then our xylem being that one, and then the phloem being this one. Okay, so our answer which we are having there among the options, we should have the cuticle one, and then phloem, let me say cuticle one, B showing cuticle one, and then 2 is the xylem. If we see, that's the xylem. And then 3 is the phloem, which is at the bottom. So our answer there, which we're having, it is B. Okay. Let's go on, dear viewers, to the other question. Okay, so in here, we have the question on question 10. The diagram shows the longitudinal section through the canine tooth. Now, this diagram wasn't clear from the examination part. Even I tried to look at the original paper again, it was the same. So I'll show you from this side the diagram which I came up with. I hope this one will be clear to you. Okay, we have the parts like the enamel. I'm so sure they took this diagram. The enamel, and then also there we have something like the dentine. Okay, if you can remember. And then we have the inside the pulp cavity, and then we have the nerve. Okay, so there we have the nerve. Okay, so here we have the nerve. This was which was corresponding to this one. Yes, so we have the nerve. Okay, we have the nerve, and then also we have the other part, which is the D, the blood vessel. So if you can see here, we have the blood vessel there present. Okay, and then also we have the bone, and then we have the cement. Okay, now we look at our C. So our C there is corresponding to the actual nerve. Okay, this one, the nerve. Okay, the yellow strip. The yellow strip there is the nerve. So that is our nerve which was corresponding to that part. Okay, so when they say which part detect heat, so heat is the change in temperature. So temperature is sensed by the nerve. The function of the nerve is to sense temperature change, okay, the level of acidity, okay, and then also it senses pressure on the tooth. Okay, so if you are chewing something strongly and then you have some X, so there we have C is the function of that's the function of the nerve. So a nerve function in detecting it corrects sensory impulses, okay, or brings sensation. So that is we can say C. And then now we have the question on digestion. So question 11, the diagram shows the section of the alimentary canal. Okay, so we have the mouth, and then here we have the stomach, and then we have the colon, or sometimes we call it the large intestine. Okay, so which events are correctly matched with the parts labeled F, G, and H? So what could be the function of the part labeled F? So the part labeled F, its function is in the mouth there, we can see the mouth digestion of carbohydrates. Okay, can we have digestion of carbohydrates in the mouth? Of course, yes, because there is an enzyme which we call salivary amylase. Salivary amylase is present in the saliva, so that breaks down carbohydrates into maltose. Okay, that goes on for further digestion. So in here, of course, there is digestion of carbohydrates. Okay, but not digestion of lipids, but not digestion of lipids again, not digestion of protein. So these answers are not right. So we have digestion of carbohydrates takes place in the mouth, okay? And then in proteins, in G, of course, in here there is digestion of proteins. We have gastric juice, okay, that facilitates the pH at which proteins can be broken down. So proteins are broken down into peptides just in the stomach, okay? Then we have H. H in here, in the small intestine there, of course, we have the digestion of lipids. Lipids are broken down into fat acids, which are further absorbed into the lymphatics. So in the lymphatics, there is a percentage of fats that goes into it. Okay. So if you can remember the structure of the villus, okay, so we have the intake of fats in the small intestine. So the small intestine is made up of the villus. So those ones, they have in the lateral inside of them, they absorb fats. All right, so our answer there is C, A. Okay, and then we look at this question. So this question had the mixed things in it. Okay, so if you are so fast on this part, dear viewer, you can think of this, is it aerobic or anaerobic? Okay, so you have to look at the question carefully. Question 12, the following equation represent respiration in in living organisms. So this is living organisms, okay? We have living organisms and yeast, okay? And then also we have the other one, which is in bacteria. So we have living organism and yeast. Now, we have a living organism. So a living organism can have muscles. Muscles can be present in the living organism, okay? Now, what type of respiration was given? Let's try to look at it. Glucose, okay, is broken down. This arrow is showing that glucose is broken down to form X and carbon dioxide, and then plus amount of energy. Now, our focus is to look at the size of the energy. How much of the energy is being given, okay? So I want you to see exactly on the amount of energy. We have 218 or 210. 210 is the amount of energy. So this is not aerobic respiration, okay? Aerobic respiration produces somewhere 2881 kilojoules of energy, okay? Something like that. That's the amount of energy which aerobic respiration can give. But in our case here, we have less amount of energy. So the amount of energy is so less, meaning that this is anaerobic respiration. And then also taking place in living organisms, okay, there is an output product. Because we have to know the output products of aerobic respiration in yeast and then muscles. So I have to give a tip. So if you look at muscles, In muscles, there is the formation of lactic acid and carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide and that lactic acid is formed in muscles, in living organisms. And then when it comes to yeast, there is ethanol and carbon dioxide. So here we are dealing with the living organisms. Then we should have lactic acid forming. Okay, this lactic acid, when it forms in high percentages, especially in human beings, it causes what we call fatigue. There's fatigue that is associated with it. All right, so our answer there is B. Then we move on to this other question. So on the other question there, we have a question on diseases and infections and immunity. So this part of the topic, I will try to give it out. Question 13. Which of the following is a causative agent for malaria? Which of the following is a causative agent for malaria? So we have to know exactly the causative agents, okay? So a causative agent, for example, is a pathogen. It's a pathogen that brings about the infection. So if we look at malaria, malaria is caused by Plasmodium, okay? And then if you can remember, vibrochorea is caused by, it causes the cholera. So our answer there is C, okay, Plasmodium, which is carried in the female mosquitoes. So take note that a mosquito is a vector, and then Plasmodium is a pathogen, okay, which is a disease-causing organism. So this one is carried in the guts of the mosquito, okay. So we have our answer C. Okay, so let's now move on to this question 14. So question 14 there, which of the following is a safer sexual practice? Okay, so when it comes to safe practice of sexual safe practice, we have A, consistent and correct use of condoms. Then B, having multiple sexual partners, no. C, having unprotected sexual intercourse, and then kissing and sharing contaminated body fluid. So our answer here, it is A. We have correct and consistent and correct use of condoms. Okay, so our answer there is A. Then we have question 15. Which of the following correctly shows the function of the solid parts of blood? Now, what could the functions of the solid parts of blood? If we look at the blood component, this question is blood components, okay, or blood composition. We have erythrocytes. Now, erythrocytes are sometimes said to be red blood cells, okay. Now, these ones, their function is to transport oxygen, okay. So answers that are not relating to transportation of oxygen, they are not right, okay, like this one, blood clotting, defense of against pathogen, these are not right, okay. So the erythrocytes, they transport oxygen, okay. And then we have leukocytes. So leukocytes, basically their function, if we look at this, these are white blood cells, okay. The white blood cells are classified into two. There are lymphocytes, and then also we have phagocytes. So now leukocytes are basically white blood cells, which are lymphocytes. Okay. So in here we have white blood cells. Now these white blood cells, their function is to defend against pathogen. Okay, they provide a defense against pathogen either by producing antibodies, okay, to stick to the foreign material, okay, so that the phagocytes, they can amplify them. So that could be one of the function, okay. And then we have thrombocytes. So thrombocytes are sometimes said to be platelets, okay, which are produced in the bone marrow and then also some other parts of the bone. So these ones, they are used in blood clotting mechanism, okay. So I'll create a video about blood clotting mechanism, okay. And then also the clotting factors, which are vitamin K, and then we have calcium, okay. So vitamin K and calcium, those ones are clotting factors. So we have to know that for thrombocytes, they bring about blood clotting. They produce thromboplastin, and then that thromboplastin is used to activate other enzymes which are there, or other proteins to say. So we have to know the thrombocytes. They are used for blood clotting. So our answer there comes out to be D. Okay. Then let's look at question 16. The diagram shows an external structure of the human heart. Okay, I hope you're able to remember the structure of the heart, but before that, I want you to see exactly this part, and then we'll come back to the question, okay? So this is our structure. We have these vessels, and then those vessels, and then those vessels. Now, first of all, I have to show you this, and then from there we look at the question. Okay. So let's see here what we have. There are some parts which are detailed, but there are things that I have to show you. Okay, relating to the given diagram. So we have this vessel which comes from the bottom here. Okay, we call it inferior vena cava. Okay, so take note that there is inferior vena cava, and then there is the superior vena cava. Okay, so this one on top is superior vena cava, and then this one at the bottom is inferior. Okay, inferior and then superior. Okay, so like we are given in here, this one is inferior. Okay, x is inferior, and then what of the one on top? Superior. Now here we are not given the superior. Okay, so we have also this particular part, okay, which is the coronary artery, or let me say pulmonary artery. So the pulmonary artery is of two types. We have left pulmonary artery, and then we have right pulmonary artery. Okay, let's try to relate the diagram to what we are given. This one is the left pulmonary artery, and then this one is right pulmonary artery. This one. Okay, this one is the left. Okay, and then this one is the right. Okay, so there are two. Left, right. Okay, right, left pulmonary artery, right pulmonary artery. So Z should be pulmonary artery. Okay, so we have Z there, pulmonary artery, and then also we have now the vessel here. This vessel, if we look at this vessel here, we have the coronary artery. So we have the right coronary artery. If you see it, it's a coronary artery. So there is a right coronary artery. Then also there is a left coronary artery. So here, left coronary artery, right coronary artery. So this is the coronary artery. Are we together? So we can now relate to what we are given. So this is just a tip of the diagram, okay? Okay, so now let's see what we are given as one of the parts, okay? So in our case, okay, we can give an answer for that. So let's see, have an answer. So our answer there comes out to be C. Okay, so we have the inferior vena cava. So this is the inferior vena cava. Okay, even though this particular arrow is not properly set, let me try to mark using a pen. Okay, so our answer is this one, C. Okay, so we have the inferior vena cava. This one, X is the inferior vena cava, and then Y is the coronary artery, and then Z is the pulmonary artery. Okay, so our answer there is C. Okay, so C is our answer. So C is our answer. So let's move on to the other question, dear viewers. Okay, so on the other side, we have the question on 17. The diagram, what is the difference between plasma and tissue fluid? Okay, so in here, if you look at plasma and tissue fluid. Now, plasma basically, if you can remember, in plasma, proteins are absorbed. They are in high percentages. In blood, the protein content is high. And then, if you look at tissue fluid basically, what is more in percentage is fats. Fats are the ones which are in high percentage. Okay, so fats are in high percentage, but not proteins. Okay, so if we look at the parts, dissolved glucose present, no dissolved glucose present. So here no. Okay, less dissolved glucose and then more dissolved glucose, because sometimes there are cells in the tissue fluid. We have to know that lymphocytes are in the tissue fluid, so they can need glucose. Okay, and then more proteins molecule and then few protein molecules. Of course, this one is our answer. No white blood cells, and then white blood cells are present. No, this one is not. Okay, in the blood there is white blood cells. So our answer there turns out to be C. And then we have question 18. Which of the following is not an excretory product of plants? Alright, so here I will make also a video on this part. The plants excretory waste products. Carbon dioxide is a waste product at night. Plants at night, they respire oxygen and then they take out carbon dioxide. If you look at the carbon cycle, okay, so there is an intake of oxygen at night and then give out carbon dioxide. Because here you can say carbon dioxide, but this is at night. Plants respire oxygen at night. Latex is a waste product of the plant. which is used for making rubber. So this is a waste product. And then oxygen during photosynthesis in a day, it is a waste product. Urea is not one of the waste product, okay? So urea basically is used by plants. Plants, they use urea for growth and so many other purposes. So our answer there is D. And then the question 19 was coming from excretion. The diagram shows the part of a nephron, okay? So this one, if you can remember, there is a Bowman's capsule there. And then we have efferent artery, afferent artery, like that, okay? Then here we have the actual point where filtration happens. So this is ultrafiltration. Okay, the substance that is going down is said to be the glomerular filtrate. So that glomerular filtrate can have some substances in it. Okay. Now, when answering such questions on the glomerular filtrate, we have to know substances which are removed, and then substances which are not filtered out. So there are substances which are not filtered out, like proteins. Proteins are not filtered out. We have red blood cells, they are not filtered out. And then we have white blood cells. These components are complex and big. They are big in size. They cannot diffuse through the vessels. So which of the following is not found in the filtrate? Why? So there we can state proteins. Proteins are big, but glucose is able to pass through ions, mineral ions, they are able to pass through, urea is able to pass through. But proteins are big and complex, they do not pass through the glomerular, they do not pass through the Bowman's capsule. Okay? So our answer there is C. And then we look at this question. Question 20. Which of the following is not an endocrine gland? I hope we can remember an endocrine gland. Those glands that are ductless and they secrete hormones, they are said to be endocrine glands. Okay? So if we see here, the hypothalamus is not the endocrine gland. This one is part of the nervous system. Okay? And then we have the pancreas. These are all endocrine glands. Pancreas, they produce insulin and the glucagon. This one is an endocrine gland. Pituitary gland produces we have antidiuretic hormone, okay, and then also we have luteinizing hormone and so forth. So this one is the endocrine gland, and then thyroid glands are also endocrine glands, but this one is not an endocrine gland. Okay, we have A. Right. Then let's look at the question 21. The diagram shows the human brain. Okay, I hope you're able to remember the brain. So we have this part, the cerebellum, which is responsible for reasoning, judgments, and also voluntary activities. This part here, okay? This part is said to be a cerebellum. And then here we have the pituitary gland, D. Pituitary gland is useful for secreting hormones, okay? Hormone production is done by the pituitary gland. Then here below the brainstem we can have the medulla oblongata, okay? This part is useful for controlling involuntary activities, okay? And then we have the cerebellum. The cerebellum is used for balance and posture. So balance and posture is made by the cerebellum, okay? And then the examiner went on to ask which of the labeled D parts is responsible for coordinating all body movements. So when it comes to movements, this part, because this part is for posture and balance. Okay, so coordination is also brought about by the cerebellum. It is more like a flower of the brain. Okay, sometimes it looks like a flower. So this one is an answer there. Okay, so we have B as an answer. Let's try to go on to the other question. Okay, so on the other side we have question 22. Okay, on the sensory organs, the diagram shows an eye accommodated for nearby objects. Okay, so here we have a nearby object, the lens, light focused on the retina, and then we have the ciliary muscle. Now, what is most important to notice? We have muscles in the eye. Okay, so muscles, basically we have muscles that accommodate distant and near objects. Those ones, they are of two types. They are ciliary muscles and then suspensory ligaments. And then we also have muscles that are present in the iris. We call them iris muscles. So those muscles are also antagonistic. Their function, they control the amount of light going in and out of the eye. Or let me say going in the eye. So the amount of light going in an eye is controlled by the radial and the circular muscles. If you can remember those two, which control the size of the pupil. They just control the size of the pupil. So I'll give you an insight of the two. Okay, I'll give a nearby and then distant so that we know exactly what happens. See, for nearby object, here we have near vision, and then this side we have distant vision. Okay, I want you to see the difference. Okay, now in nearby vision, when you are seeing an object from the nearby, let's say for example here, okay, what will happen? The ciliary muscles, they will contract. Okay, the ciliary muscles, these muscles, they will contract, they will more like stretch up. Okay, and then the suspensory ligaments, they will relax, there will be a slack of suspensory ligaments. Okay, they will become tense like this. Okay, they will become tense from the point where the part is. So that's what happens. Okay, so let's assume this is your actual ciliary body. Okay, so we have the particular the particular lens becomes slack, the lens becomes thick. So the lens becomes thick. Okay, and then from this side here, when you are viewing a distant object, okay, basically what happens, the lens, okay, so in here the ciliary muscles, they relax, suspensory ligaments become tense, and then the lens becomes thin. So we are looking at the nearby object. So what we should have there, what will happen to the ciliary muscles? The ciliary muscles, these ones, they will contract. Okay, ciliary muscles, when you are looking at nearby object, okay, they will contract. Okay, and then what will happen to the suspensory ligaments or the lens? The lens, okay, the lens will become thick. Okay, so the lens will become thick. So we should have the ciliary muscle contracting, these ones. Okay, or we can say the ciliary muscles, they will contract. Okay, like that, and then the lens will become thicker. All right, so that the refractive index of the lens is increased. So what we have is that. Okay, so our answer is A. We should have these ones contracting, and then these ones, the lens becoming thicker. Okay, then now we have this question. Question 23. How do bicep and tricep muscles in straightening the arm? Okay, how do bicep and the tricep muscles work in straightening the arm? So let me give you a tip over this. So if we look at the biceps, when you are straightening the arm like this, when you are straightening the arm, there is straightening of the arm, and then also there is lifting up of the arm. So when you are lifting up the arm in that direction, okay, what happens in here? The biceps, they contract, okay, and then the tricep relax. And then when you are straightening the arm, the bicep relax. You should have the bicep relaxing when you are straightening the arm. The bicep should relax. Okay, and then what happens to the triceps? They contract. Okay, these ones, they contract. So we should have D as an answer there. Okay, so D is one of the answer that we have. Okay, then let's look at this other question. Question 24. The diagram shows a potted seedling placed under the cardboard with a window cut on one side so that light reaches the shoot from one direction. So this question is coming from tropic responses. So we have phototropism. So we have positive phototropism. So positive phototropism is the response of the plant towards the stimuli. So this one is a stimuli. Okay? So if this one is a stimuli and then the plant is responding to it, then that is positive phototropism. So if they ask what type of tropism is demonstrated in the diagram, so that is positive phototropism. Okay? So our answer there is D. Let's try to move on to this question. Question 25. The diagram shows the longitudinal section of the root tip. So we have the root tip, and then also there are regions. Okay, so they went on to ask, where does secondary growth occur? So I want to show you this. Okay, there are regions that are present. We have region of cell maturation, region of cell elongation, and then region of cell division. So this region here, which we call the region of maturation, it is accompanied with the cambium. So the cambium here brings about secondary growth. So secondary growth happens in this particular region. Sometimes they call it region of differentiation. That's where the cells, they specialize, okay, into phloem, xylem, and then also we have parenchyma and the parenchyma. and parenchyma cells. So in here, there is secondary growth that is accompanied. So our answer there, it is A. Okay? So we now move on to question 26. The diagram shows a germinating seed. So this is a germinating seed. Okay, we can see the cotyledons there. They are the seed coat, the radicle there, and then the cotyledons are coming out, and then the cotyledons they emerge above the ground. So this type of germination, if we look at it, I want you to see from here. So there are two types of germination. There is what we call hypogeo, and then there is epigeo. So we have to focus much on how are the cotyledons, where are the cotyledons left, or what are the position of the cotyledons. So when the cotyledons they are left from the ground like this is said to be hypogeo. And then when the cotyledons they rise above the ground like that, we call it epigeo. Okay. So the seedling shown in the diagram shows it. So from the question we can see that the type of germination is epigeo germination that occurs in dicotyledonous plants. Now, when they say dicotyledonous plants are those plants that have seeds that have two cotyledons. There are two cotyledons that are present on the seed, like we can see from here. The seed basically on the middle there is a particular embryo. So the seed that has two cotyledons, we call it a dicot seed. Okay, so our answer there is C, A. And then let's look at to this question. Okay, this question is question 27. Which of the following is not an importance of fungi? Okay, so we have crop rotation, nutrient recycling, production of alcohol, source of food. So the actual part which is not an important of fungi is not useful when it comes to crop rotation. Okay, because this organism is just there to it's a saprophyte, so it does not play a role in crop rotation. Okay, so in terms of nutrient recycling, so it is crop rotation is not an answer. These ones are importance of fungi. These are importance of fungi, but this one is not. Okay, it's not an importance of fungi, so we can say A. And then we have this question 28. The diagram shows the one artificial vegetative reproduction methods. Okay, so we have these artificial vegetative reproductive methods. Now we have to know what we call grafting. Grafting is where you cut the shoot or the upper shoot of the plant, and then you mount it on the scion. Okay, so like here we have the part cut like this, and then they mount it in onto the actual stem, and then they tie. This is the grafting. And then we have budding. Budding is where they take a flap of the bud and then they patch it to the plant. And then they tie. So we call that as budding. Okay. So if they ask us what method of artificial propagation is shown, so this is the grafting. Okay. Yes, so we go to the other question. So the other question is on types of pollination. So question 29, the diagram shows the insect and the section of an insect pollinated flower. Okay, so this is an insect pollinated flower. So now we have to know what we call carpel, and also we have to know stamen. Stamen are male parts of the plant. So they include the filament and the anthers. So these are anthers. They are male parts of the plant. Now the anthers, they produce the pollen grains. And then here we have an ovary. That's where the seed is formed. So the whole stigma, the addition of stigma, pollen tubes with the particular ovary, they make up what we call the carpel. Okay. So if they ask us which structure produces the pollen grains, so we have the anthers which are C. These they produce pollen grains. They are male parts of the flower. Okay. And then we have question 13. Question 30 there, it's a question on dispersal. The diagram shows the method of dispersal, seed dispersal. Okay, so if we look at this particular explosive fruit, okay, when it explodes, the seeds, they freak out. So we can see from here, we have the actual plants that split. So the actual plants that split, when the pods, they split, and then the seeds, they open and then thrown out. So this is self-dispersal. We call this as self-dispersal. And then where we have a fruit like this one, a tomato, that is animal dispersal. Okay, and then we have winged fruits. Okay, but this one I'm not sure of it. It's a coconut. Coconut can be by itself. Okay, so this one can just drop by self dispersal. Okay, and then this one also we have the sycamore. The sycamore basically it has wings, so we call this as winged fruits. So winged fruits, they move by the wings. They propel in the air and then go to distant points. And then we have these ones, the sandbar, the hooked fruits. So the hooked, they cling to the animal fur, and then they are taken together with the animal. So these ones are animal dispersed. And then the dendron, they are parachute structure. They have parachute structure. So they are carried by the wings. Okay, so in our case, we are looking at this one, the peas. So the peas basically they disperse by the action of self. That is self-dispersal. Okay, so our answer there, which we can give, we have B. And then we have that one. Which of the following statement is true about reproduction in frogs? Okay, so if you look at frogs basically, the female frog lay eggs first of all, and then the male usually sprinkle the sperm on the eggs, okay, after they are laid. So we call that as external fertilization, okay. And then when the eggs basically they are laid, they are taken by a male into water. Okay, so we call that as external fertilization. So that is external fertilization. Okay. Then we have question 32. Which part of the reproductive system in humans is cut and tied during vasectomy? So we have to know vasectomy is a surgical method, which is a birth control method, which is used to control the birth by cutting the sperm ducts. So the sperm ducts are cut in this form. So see, they cut in vasectomy. We call this as vasectomy. In males, it's vasectomy. So they cut the sperm ducts. Those sperm ducts, they are cut like that, okay? So when they are cut, and then they will tie them, and then the process, we call it vasectomy. And then in women where fallopian tubes are cut, we call that as tubecotomy. So there's tubecotomy in women, vasectomy in males, okay? Now, let's try to see. So, in seeing what we have, okay, on the answer there, we can say on 32, we can state the sperm duct. So, the sperm duct is the one which is cut, okay? If we see from here, the sperm ducts are cut there. So, that is the term we call it vasectomy, okay? So, we can now move on to the other question, okay? So, on the other question here, we have question 33. Question 33, the following bar graph shows different numbers of learners and their blood groups in the grade 12 class, okay? So here we have blood groups. We have number of learners and then blood groups. Okay, what type of genetic variation is shown in the graph? Now, we have to know that this is a discontinuous variation. Discontinuous variation is represented by a bar graph. And then continuous variation is represented by the frequency curve. A frequency curve shows the continuous variation, okay? And then the actual discontinuous is shown by bar graph. A trait is kept within its bars, okay? So this type of variation, we call it discontinuous variation, okay? So there are no intermediates or changes. So those changes are not present. When one has characteristics, then they will be like that. So our answer there, we have C. And then we have question 34. Okay. At which stage of cell division does DNA replication of, or does replication of DNA occur? So if we look at DNA replication starts from interphase. So in interphase, we have the nuclear membrane disappears, and then the DNA replicates. When it replicates, it will form two daughter chromatides, which will be visible. Okay, so that particular stage we call it interphase. Okay, and then we have this question on blood groups. Okay, so now on blood groups, there we have what are the possible blood groups of the following parents who have blood group A and B. So if you look at blood group A, okay, blood group A, okay, A is represented as AO, and then we have B is represented as BO. So these blood groups, when you cross them, when you cross this one with that one, you have blood group AB. Okay? Or let me please you just pardon the handwriting. You have AB, okay, like that. And then when you cross this one with that one, okay, you have blood group AO, okay, AO like that. And then when you cross this one and then that one, okay, you have blood group BO, okay, and then when you cross this one with the last one, you have blood group O. Okay, that's what you have. Now, if you look at the blood groups, so what are possible blood groups of the offspring of parents who have blood group A and B? So we should have blood group A is present, or AB is present, AB is present, okay, and then we have AO is present, okay, AO is just O is recessive, so we just represent it as A, and then BO is B is present, okay, B is present, and then O is present. So the possible blood group that are present are D. So our answer there is D. Okay. Then we have question 36. The following is a food chain. Okay. We have lep, grasshopper, bear,